Good morning. Good morning. Well, afternoon, I guess. So let's start this over. Good afternoon, guys. How's everybody doing? We're gonna wait just about a minute or so for some more people to come in here. Technically, not supposed to start until 1 o'clock, but I'm ready to go here. So we'll go live here and get everybody in here, and we'll start here in about a minute or so. Where are you guys watching from? Let me know. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Mary. What's up, Jimmy, Amanda, Ann, Joanne, Nicole, Brooke, Elizabeth. What's up, 40? What's up, Tommy? Kaylee? What's up, everybody? So overall today, um, the SPC went ahead and issued the enhanced risk for portions of southern Michigan. So that stretches from Lansing, Ann Arbor, Battle Creek, Flint, Detroit Metro, Monroe, Adrian, Ypsilanti, Belleville, South Lyon, Brighton. Pretty large enhanced area here in southern Michigan. But around that area, the slight risk is still in effect. So Saginaw, Alma, Mount Pleasant, the Grand Rapids Metro, Kalamazoo, Coldwater, Hillsdale, Sturgis, Three Rivers, that area. That area is still in a slight risk. Then the marginal risk around that extends all the way up to Roscommon. So if you're up in the northern part of Michigan, you do have a threat today as well. The overall risk is going to be highest again in that slight risk area and also especially in the orange risk enhanced area. The enhanced risk is level 3 out of 5, so it's a pretty good level that we're under today for severe weather. The atmosphere is already becoming very unstable, even with the cloud cover that some people have in the state today. The overall instability right now is cranking. So that's your overall enhanced risk. And then if I go back here, I'll go over the entire risk spectrum here. The tornadic risk today is a 2 and also a 5%. So the 2%, as you can see there in green, is Saginaw, Alma, Mount Pleasant, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Hillsdale, Coldwater, Sturgis areas. And then the highest threat is going to be as we get as we get storms going up today, they're going to congeal into a line. That line's going to be at its strongest in that red area there, and that's what they put the 5% risk for QLCS spin up type tornadoes. That includes Metro Detroit, Flint, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Adrian, Monroe, Belleville, South Lyon, Brighton, Howell, those areas, all the way over to the Lapeer County, all the way over to Port Huron, those areas. So that is your tornadic risk today. The main risk today is going to be your wind, and especially wind that may be over 75 miles per hour. This is going to be a very potent line that we are expecting to happen tonight. So in that black, what we call a hatched area, we call it hatch, but it's like a black box here. That is going to be where your most significant wind gusts are going to happen. Now that can happen a little bit outside the enhanced risk, which is why you see outside the red area. So areas like Kalamazoo, Coldwater, Hillsdale, all the way up toward the Alma area, the Grand Rapids Metro, and that extends all the way east toward Metro Detroit. So Ann Arbor, Adrian, Monroe, Belleville, South Lyon, Howell, all the way over to Port Huron, Lapeer counties, St. Clair, Macomb counties. Those areas will have the highest risk of damaging wind gusts that may top 75 miles per hour. We may get a lot of wind gusts, widespread wind gusts that may be very significant. And especially with all the rain that we got yesterday on the southeast side of the state, the ground is so saturated. So the combination of saturated ground and also very high winds, the roots of trees are going to be very weak today. So trees are not going to have too much trouble coming down in high winds today. So we're probably going to see a lot of damage in this area, especially on the east side where the ground is so saturated that the trees are weaker, if that makes sense. And then last on this risk is your hail threat. The hail threat is a classic 15% no hatch, so just hail right around an inch up to 2 inches in diameter, so between 1 and 2 inches. So all the way up toward the walnut size, golf ball size as possible, but mainly just going to be quarter size hail today. We don't expect there to be, it's possible, but we don't expect too many significant hail reports, if any at all. And that risk extends all the way up toward Mount Pleasant, Saginaw, Flint, all the way down to Southwest Michigan, Benton Harbor area. It's a pretty large area there, and around that all the way up to Roscommon is a little bit lesser threat in the brown reddish area, but the highest threat again is going to be in southern and central parts of Michigan for the hail threat. Now, looking at a few models here, go ahead and switch our screen over. Give me 1 second. go ahead and bring up the model here. So for timing and overall areas here, we do expect there currently, first of all, there is a cap still in place. For those of you who don't know what a cap is, it's basically a lid on the atmosphere that prevents storms from either forming altogether or it prevents updrafts from becoming to their full potential. So that cap is much weaker than what we had yesterday, which is why we had the risk yesterday in some parts of the state that didn't get anything. That cap held pretty strong, but today the cap is a lot weaker than what it was yesterday. So we do expect that cap to break very easily by late afternoon, early evening. And at that point in time, that's when we expect storms to really pop off and get going, right around the 6 o'clock time frame. But just given the weakness of the cap today in comparison to yesterday, I would not be shocked if we have storms going a little bit earlier than that. But for right now, the models are really hinting at a threat that starts to develop right around the 6, 7, 8 o'clock time frame. Now, if we look at this model here, this is the HRRR model. Had a good handle on things yesterday, although not the best handle, but it had a better handle than the NAM. As we go through the afternoon hours, this is going to be noon, so this is an hour ago. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and by 8 o'clock, we have developing storms, Muskegon, Big Rapids, Saginaw. That's the first indication that we have storm development right around the 8 o'clock time frame. I do think it might be a little bit earlier than this, so I'm thinking right around 6 to 8 o'clock would be the initiation for these storms, and they very rapidly intensify and move to the east-southeast. We have more development off to the southeast, and it congeals into a huge line and pushes off to the east-southeast toward Metro Detroit area. Now you're probably looking at this and going, well, it's not all the way far south to Kalamazoo, Jackson, those areas. Well, the models are just giving an indication here of what could happen. We do expect there to be widespread development. We do expect there to be a huge bow echo squall line that extends all the way from about Saginaw all the way down to the border of Ohio. So just because you're not seeing this on the model, this is a model output. It's not perfect. If you look at a few other forecast models, we'll look at the NAM really quickly. I have not looked in detail at the NAM model. However, I do believe it does have a good handle on things. It's pretty much in agreement as well with the NAM model, or with the HRRR model. As we go through the afternoon and evening hours here, we go ahead and spread this through. This is 4, 5. We have storm development over the Lake Michigan area. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and by 11 to midnight, it's cleared the state. Now you're looking at this going, well, it's not really intense on radar. Well, it's a good indication, just given the explosive environment we have, these storms will be very explosive. So just because you don't see a lot of reds and yellows in there does not mean it's not going to be a very potent storm. The environment today, both shear-wise, instability-wise, supports these storms to take off like we had last night in southeast Michigan. We had a lot of rain and a lot of wind last night in southeast Michigan. The atmosphere is even more explosive today, as we're about to look at. So last thing we're going to look at here is our mesoanalysis model, or not a model, but the mesoanalysis is our real-time data that we're looking at in the real moment. So this is going to show us our satellite. It's going to show us our surface instability, our upper level instability, our wind shear, everything you need to forecast in real time. So you're looking right now at the satellite. We do have some clouds across western and central parts of Michigan. That's not going to matter. The instability in the upper levels is already there. So if it remains cloudy for you guys through the afternoon, it's not going to kill the severe threat. The instability is already there and it's already in place. So if we have no sun in the state, the instability is there, storms will still fire up. So just because you're not in full sun, doesn't matter. So this is your satellite, only southeast Michigan here is in the sun, which is also why you see a little bit higher threat from the SPC over in those areas. But if we look at our instability product, we see this red lines and the blues here. The red lines are your instability, already pushing up into western Michigan, also southeast Michigan here. But the blue is your capping. So it's not very strong, we saw yesterday. It's a very weak cap that we have in place. Once we see that blue aqua color start to erode, that's when your cap breaks. That's when storms go up. We also have a very large amount of most unstable CAPE across the state. We are talking in excess of 4,000 most unstable CAPE in the Metro Detroit area at 8 o'clock this morning. It's a significant amount that was in place. We had a forecast sounding, which is basically an x-ray of the profile of the atmosphere. From Detroit this morning at 8 a.m., we already had 4,000 most unstable CAPE in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, and it was only 8 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a very hot, a very muggy, and a very unstable day, and the storms will have no problem taking advantage of that. Now, last thing we're going to look at is our wind shear. So here we want wind shear right around the 35 knot or higher. We have 35 knots all across southern Michigan here, with areas here in southeast Michigan, 45, 50 knots. That is going to get these storm updrafts not only strengthened, strong, but also potentially rotating. We have a lot of spin in the atmosphere today, especially later on this evening towards the 7, 8 o'clock hour. These storms will have a lot of spin in the atmosphere to work with, which is why you see that 5% tornado risk in effect. So with that being said, I believe I covered everything here. Again, timing wise, is anywhere from I wouldn't be shocked to see storms go up early around 4 or 5, but I think it's going to hold off until maybe 6 to 8 o'clock, and then after that time frame, we're going to see storms develop pretty rapidly in western Michigan. That's going to congeal into a line. It's going to push eastward, southeastward, and along that linear complex we expect to develop. Intense winds of over 75 miles per hour, tornadoes, and large hail all possible, as well as a flooding risk as well. Areas in Metro Detroit last night got over 7 inches of rain. Belleville had 7.5 inches. I believe Canton had close to 7 inches. Metro Detroit Airport had close to 5 or 6 inches. So it's very saturated ground in southeast Michigan from last night's storms, and as well as power outages and stuff like that are already scattered across southeast Michigan. This is round 2, and this looks to be a lot worse than what we had last night. So, guys, I have 550 people in this room here. If you guys have not already hit that like button, we would appreciate that. But also looking for any questions here for you guys. I'm going to try and be as direct as possible. This is a pretty clear-cut situation that we have unfolding across the state today. So again, for time frame, I don't want to answer everybody's questions about their time frame, but I'll just go ahead and give. In fact, I'll go ahead after I hop off here. I'll go ahead and make a timing map. I'll get that posted on the page for you guys to have a better idea. But again, it's going to be about between, I'd say, 6 to 8 in the western part of the state, and that should work eastward and clear the state by about midnight. So it'll be really rapidly moving. It's going to be fast moving. If there's going to be tornadoes, they're going to be quick spin up. They're going to be fast moving. You're not going to see them because they're going to be rain wrapped. I'll put that out there as well. But the wind is going to be a dominant threat. Tornadoes is your second threat. I'd say hail is your third threat, as well as flash flooding is in there as well. But overall, on the west side of the state, 6 to 8 is your approximate timing. The central part of the state, I'd say probably 8 to 10. And then the eastern part of the state, I'd say 10 to 12. That'd be the approximate timing for this. And it could be off by an hour or two, just depending on how quickly that cap can break. Again, it's a weak cap, and storms may fire up early here. So, if you guys ask for timing, that's going to be your timing. I don't want to sit here and answer 100 questions, Fenton or Monroe or Lansing. That's just your general areas, 6 to 8 in the west, 8 to 10 in the central, and then 10 to 12 in the east. All right. Any chance the storms will break up? So the only way that today, the fail mode for today, is if the cap is stronger than expected. It may hinder either storm strength or storm development altogether. I don't expect that to happen, but if anything's going to happen that's going to prevent this threat today, it's going to be the cap. I do not think they're going to go moderate. People asking if they're going to upgrade even further. I don't think it's going to go moderate. I don't think it's a very widespread enough threat. Let's see here. How did the storms last night not weaken the atmosphere? Well, there's a warm front for one that came back north. It's also full sun here where it was raining last night. There's not a cloud in the sky here in southeast Michigan. So you're seeing that surface heating take shape. There's no cloud debris, and the moisture is streaming up from the south. So the atmosphere is recovering nicely from last night's storms. So those aren't going to have an effect on the day. Will the risk for tornadoes go up to 10%? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. I think it's a 5%. It's going to stay 5%. The overall directional wind shear, it's there for tornadoes, but it's not like, oh, wow, we got to be, tornadoes are a huge threat today. Nah, it's a good threat, but it's not something I'm going to look at and go, they need to upgrade, something like that. So, yes, Trisha, thank you. The Grand Rapids weather radio, if you're in the Grand Rapids CWA, so anywhere around Grand Rapids they have a weather radio, the transmitting signal is down, all right? So your weather radios will not work in the Grand Rapids area. Put that out there. Thank you, Trisha. I saw your comment. I was going to get a post on the page about that. I still will. But yes, the NWS put that out this morning. The transmitter for the weather radios is down. I do expect there to be watches. It may, again, I'm not going to say for sure. I would expect there to be at the very least a severe watch I wouldn't be surprised if they went tornado watch, but again, that's up to the SPC. And it's going to happen later on this afternoon. I'll leave it up to them. Either way, I do expect a watch to be issued today. What's up, Joel? I see Joel's joining us here.
Hello. I got sleep.
Actually, hold on. I got to get my headphones in so I can hear you.
Okay.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Perfect.
All right.
Just hopping on to see if I could answer any questions with you.
Yep. That's all we're doing right now.
Cool. Someone asked again what the cap is. Basically, it's like a shallow, warm layer in the atmosphere that's preventing instability or cloud, I guess you could say storm development from going up. So we will be chasing tonight.
Yes, we will. We'll have a live stream ready to go and stuff like that. So be prepared and tune in if you want to.
Chance for a tornado watch, I would say more than likely probably a severe thunderstorm watch for the winds.
That's what I'm thinking as well, but I wouldn't be shocked if they went tornado, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes, Alexis, tornado threat is 2% for Hillsdale. That is correct. Worst case scenario for Southwest Michigan, mainly just going to be damaging winds and some hail for you guys over there in Southwest Michigan, talking about the Kalamazoo area, Southwest. It's going to be highest off to the east, but you still are in a severe threat today. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a hail threat today. It's not the highest threat. The highest threat is going to be winds, although there is a decent amount of wind shear that can get updrafts organized. And these storms are going to be tall today, so hail is definitely a threat, but it's not one of the significant threats. Wind is going to be your significant threat, and then hail is a secondary or third threat to tornadoes. Again, guys, timing on this for those just tuning in, 6 to 8 p.m. tonight in the western part of the state. It could be a little bit earlier depending on how fast that cap breaks, but that's about the rough timing we see right now, 6 to 8 p.m. in the west, 8 to 10 in the central part of the state, and then 10 to 12 on the eastern part of the state. When we'll be live? I will be live as soon as storms start to fire. I do plan to chase once Nick gets off work. I believe Joel's chasing. I believe Alex is also chasing. So we'll be streaming here. We'll be chasing as well. Cold water is included in this threat. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share the SPC screen one more time so people can see the risk areas in their respective locations. There we go. So cold water, you're in a slight risk. The enhanced risk is just off to your east and north. Overall, it's probably going to be a wind and a hail threat for you today. There is a low chance for a tornadic spin up in cold water, but the risk for that's going to be highest off to your east. Hillsdale as well. What is our target areas for right now? Nick, that is a great question. I plan to go towards the Perry area later on this afternoon and evening.
I'll probably also meander my way south. I'm in Mount Pleasant right now, so
we'll see. Right around the Lansing area, we good bet, I think, for any chasing today. Usually when you storm chase, you want to position yourself in the best spot for the best storm. If we have a squall line like what we expect to happen, the apex of that squall line or where it bumps out like it's like a bow and arrow, at the very peak of that bow, that C-shaped bow, is where your peak wind gusts are going to be. And that's going to be probably right in the dead center of that enhanced risk. So I'm thinking Lansing all the way toward Metro Detroit would be a really good area to be chasing in today.
Someone said this map says valid till tomorrow morning. Yes, all the day one severe weather outlooks are valid until 7 a.m. the next day. So it does go through the night, although they'll probably upgrade the map as we go throughout the night.
Yeah, that's the risk. The risk does appear to be over around midnight. So after midnight, we should be clearing out. That's just the time frame with the SPC issues. Okay, here's something we're going to get a lot of people commenting on. It's cloudy. So I will say this. The forecast sounding this morning from Detroit already has a significant amount of instability in the atmosphere, as well as the western part of the state. We're beginning to see instability work its way in. So just because it's cloudy does not mean it's not going to be unstable. Like I said earlier, it could be cloudy all day. The instability is already present and enough to get storms going. So just because it's not going to be sunny in areas does not mean your threat is any less. Lake St. Clair 5 to 9. You should be clear on Lake St. Clair between those time frames. If there's going to be any storms, be closer to that 9 p.m. time frame. But I'm thinking over on the east side is going to be after 10. But just be alert when you get closer to that 8-9 p.m. time frame, just in case storms do fire a little bit earlier than expected. Cold water is included in the slight risk. Do you think the enhanced will be expanded? I do not think they're going to expand that. I think it's pretty much in place where they want it to be in place. What would you think, Joel? Do you think they're going to expand that? We might have lost Joel here. All right. I don't think they're going to expand the enhanced or upgrade that for that matter. Yes, winds can be as dangerous as a tornado, and straight line winds today could be close to 75 or over 75 miles per hour. That's equivalent to an EF0 tornado. I'll put that out there. So just because it's not a tornado does not mean it doesn't do damage or as significant of damage. Wind can definitely cause, if not more damage than a tornado can. So,
Sorry, I was getting a drink.
oh, you're fine. Tornadoes are high in Detroit. No, the tornado risk today is going to be highest in that orange area, which does include Detroit. But overall risk for tornadoes is not very high today. It's a risk, but it's not going to be like a significant risk. That makes sense. Just when we get these squall line type of complexes, with the amount of wind shear we have today, it's not uncommon to see quick spin up tornadoes along the leading edge of that line, which is why you're seeing that 5%. It's not going to be a super cellular, strong tornado threat where we're going to have those classic discrete isolated storms. It's going to be a line. It's going to be quick hitting, and it's going to be very quick spin up type of tornadoes today, if any tornadoes happen. Another thing to cover today is the heat indexes, especially in southeast part of the state where it's sunny. It's going to be highest today over there. I'm getting heat indexes already close to 95 or so in the areas. So there is a heat advisory in effect for, I believe, most of southern Michigan today. So you're going to have a very hot atmosphere today, which is also fueling the thunderstorms as well.
Someone asked how many of us will be out today. At least 2, right?
Yeah, I believe I plan to go out once. Like I said, Nick is going to be on here a little bit later after his work. So once that happens, I'll probably head out. I believe Joel's going to head out when storms start to fire as well. I'm not sure Alex's plans. I know Chandler's working. Alex might head east. I'm not sure. I can ask her real quick. But yeah, at least 2.
Straight line wind's definitely a possibility. In fact, the leading possibility.
All right, just texted Alex to see if he's going to be chasing today. All right, more questions here. The risk for this to go moderate is very, very low. I think they're going to stick with the enhanced. It's not a very widespread area that they expect these storms to go over. For a moderate to be issued, you want to see a long-lived, widespread event, and that's just not the criteria for this. All right, guys, so for those of you who are just joining with us, an overcap of what we're looking at. So we expect storms to develop on the west side of the state towards the Grand Rapids, Mount Pleasant area around 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. It could be a little bit before or a little bit after that time frame, but centered around 6 to 8 p.m. Those storms will form, and they will also congeal into a line and push east-southeastward. And the highest risk for damaging winds and tornadoes, as well as large hail, is going to be in that orange area, then in that yellow area as well. But in the orange area in particular, significant wind gusts over 75 miles per hour is possible, as well as large hail and a few spin-up tornadoes. Davis and Flint area is going to depend again on timing, but you should be getting the storms right around that 10 o'clock time frame. I'd say between 8 to 10 for you guys. 6 to 8 p.m. in the west part of the state, 8 to 10 p.m. in the central part of the state, on the east part of the state, 10 to 12. There's a lot of comments here, guys. So if I miss your question, I apologize. When will a watch be issued? They usually issue what they call a mesoscale discussion first. And that usually comes out either just before storms are expected to fire up or just after storms fire up. So we may not get any word on a watch until either maybe like 4, 5, 6 o'clock or a little bit later than that. But I would expect one to be issued by this evening. It's just really hard to pin down when. I would say yes, today would be a good day to be in a place with a basement. Again, if you don't have a basement, the interior part of your house would be a great option, away from windows, interior closet, bathtub, if it's not on your western walls, because western walls are first to get hit by any of these storms today. So if you have a bathroom that's on the west wall, it's not the best option, but a bathtub can be a good option as well. Driving from Grand Rapids to Lansing, do you have a sense when it will clear out of that route? After 10 p.m., I'd say would be a good bet for you. It could be a little bit before or after that. Storms are going to move pretty quickly today. Once they're in a congealed line, they'll move very rapidly. So once you're done with the storms, you'll be done for a while. So, or you'll be done pretty quickly, should I say? It won't last a while, is what I meant to say. Livingston County is in the enhanced orange area. Jennifer. Lansing is in the enhanced risk. Photo opportunities for a wall cloud. So you're probably not going to see any wall clouds today. You're probably going to see a lot of shelf clouds. It's just, you're not going to see these isolated supercells that produce these photogenic wall clouds or tornadoes. No, it's going to be a very messy. If there's going to be tornadoes, it's going to be very messy. It's going to be linear complexes. They're going to be rain wrapped. You're not going to see them. They're going to be on top of you very quickly. They're going to spin up very quickly. So you're not going to see any wall clouds today. Milan area from 5 to 8. So Milan, I would say your threat's a little bit after that. Although, again, storms could pop up early depending on how quickly that cap can break. But I wouldn't expect storms in Milan until after 8 p.m. Jessica, for right now, it's supposed to be one round. I would not be shocked if a few isolated cells pop out ahead of the linear complex. Excuse me. But overall, the main round is going to be one round. Any storms that pop out ahead of it could be severe, but I think the threat's going to be just for the main round there coming between 6 and midnight tonight. I don't think it'll be out of it by 7. I think it'll just be getting started by that time frame. Bay City, I would expect it to be out of your area by 11. I'd say 10 to 11 o'clock. All right, so if you live in a mobile home and you go under a tornado warning, the best bet for you is option A. If you have a community shelter or a community clubhouse, go there if it's unlocked. Option 2, get in your car and drive away. Usually in trailer parks, they're usually fairly close to cities. So the best bet is to drive to the nearest sturdy structure. It could be something like a strip mall, like a Verizon store or a Starbucks. Something like that would be a good bet. If you don't have time, should I say, if you do not have time to leave your mobile home, the best bet is to get in the center part of that mobile home and protect yourself, like under a table, put yourself under a blanket, stuff like that. Just put as many stuff between you and the outside walls as possible. Protect your head, especially. So cover your head as well. Overall, tornado risk today is there, but it's not, a significant threat. It's mainly going to be a wind threat. So mobile homes, again, they're not the best place to be, but it's better than being outside. That's for sure. So Chris asked, where do you think the storm is going to be with the most severe and why? So in that orange risk, I'm in full agreement with the SPC here. just in that orange risk and just surrounding that orange risk in the yellow area would be the best bet. The squall line is expected to take shape and push off to the east-southeast. It's supposed to be at its strongest in that orange area. So areas like Lansing, all the way from Lansing to Metro Detroit, Ann Arbor, Adrian, Monroe, up toward the Flint area, South Lyon, Hamburg Township, those areas, all the way over toward Port Huron. I think the wind is going to be at its greatest at that point in time. I'm actually pretty concerned. This is one of the days. This is probably one of the better severe days we've seen in Michigan in a while. This is probably the biggest severe day that we're going to have this year if this all comes together. So far, it looks really good in my opinion. But I'd say between that Lansing and Metro Detroit corridor, there would be a good bet. Where would you go in an apartment complex? So an apartment complex, I'd just go to your lowest level. Go down to the first floor. Usually apartment complexes are pretty well built and they're pretty safe in general. If a tornado hits you, you're pretty safe on the lowest level. There's very, very rare occurrences of apartments being impacted to a point where the first level is like completely demolished, especially here in Michigan, most of our tornadoes being EF0 or EF1 type of tornadoes. The chances of the apartment complex on the first level being impacted is quite low, but I would say main level, first floor, and stay away from windows would be your best bet in an apartment complex. If you want to stay in your apartment complex, like second and third floor, just go to the bathroom, I'd say. That'd be a best bet. But if you're in an apartment complex and you can go down to the first floor, do it. How confident are we in this forecast? Honestly, pretty confident. Again, like I said earlier, if this is going to break or this is going to fail in any type of way, it's going to be the cap. Although the cap is not supposed to be as strong as it was yesterday, weirder things have happened here in Michigan. So I'm pretty confident in the forecast. I don't think this is going to change much. I think it's a pretty good outline here by the SPC and also our forecast on our page earlier. It outlines potential pretty well. So I think this is a pretty confident forecast. In comparison to yesterday, I mean, that's pretty confident. Waterford looking right around the 8 to, I'd say maybe close to 9 to 11 there in Waterford. It could be as early as 7. I'm thinking 6 to 8 on the west, 8 to 10 the central part of the state, and then 10 to 12 on the eastern part of the state. But again, it's going to be dependent on when that cap breaks, but that's going to be pretty standard timing across the board. And again, I'll post a timing map here after I'm off this live stream here. Monroe County timing looking after 10 p.m. For you in Hillsdale County, Alexis, yeah, the threat is low today for tornadoes in Lenawee. Three Rivers is in the slight risk, mainly going to be for hail and wind, but a low chance of a tornado over there. It's going to be highest off to your east, but there is a low chance over there. Yeah, I'll get a map up. I'll get one up here. One tap off here. Dexter Jackson looking closer to the 8 to 10 to 11 o'clock time frame. All hazards are possible today. You know what? Honestly, that's a great question. I'm going to go to the WPC, which is the rainfall forecast, really quick. I'm going to get an update on how that looks. The rainfall, the update from the WPC has very far southeast Michigan in a slight risk for heavy rainfall, and the central and southern parts of the state in the marginal risk. So they do expect some heavy rainfall today, but especially in the areas of southeast Michigan that were hit hard last night. Man, Canton is underwater, I saw this morning. It's not a good situation, even in Monroe as well. It's just a lot of water sitting. 5 to 7 inches of rain from last night's storms. Not a bad idea, Amber, although I wouldn't, be too concerned about finding somewhere else. But when the storms do come, if there's packing a punch, I would definitely look to at least get in my car and drive to a more sturdy area or sturdy structure. But the threat will be over pretty quickly, right around midnight for most of us here. So it's not going to be an all-night type of event. It's going to be a pretty quick moving line. It's going to hit you. It's going to be gone. So. Yeah, Belleville had 7.5 inches of rain. Power outages are very likely today, especially if this line gets going like we expect it to. I would expect widespread outages across the central southern parts of the state. So, Allegan, Berry County, you guys are in the slight risk. The overall risk for you guys is decent today for wind and hail. The tornadic risk is highest off to your east. Monroe had 5.5 inches of rain. Yes, it did. If you're going to the county fair, there's more than likely going to be a storm shelter there. I believe it's by law you have to have some type of sturdy shelter designated for large areas. So if they don't have one, that might be a violation of some kind of code. I would expect there to be at the very least, a structure to take shade or take shelter at the fair there. If there's no strong structure, I would get into your car and I'd just ride out in your car away from any trees that could fall on you. Yes, Alex, there will be a lot of lightning. So if you guys saw the storms last night, it was almost nonstop lightning. Today, exact same thing. There's a lot of CAPE in the atmosphere, a lot of instability. And there's going to be actually, I would say, even more instability today than yesterday. So it might be even more lightning tonight. But yes, the lightning is going to be pretty insane tonight. Hillsdale, Wayne counties, looking at right around the 9 to 11 to maybe closer to midnight time frame. I would say 9 to 11 for you guys would be a good bet. Hillsdale County, you're in the borderline slight to enhanced. The risk is going to be highest off to your north and east in Hillsdale, but Wayne County, you're dead center in that enhanced risk. So. Again, a lot of questions here, guys. I apologize. I'm not going to get to all of these. Appreciate your interaction, asking questions. I'm just answering what I can see here. Ypsilanti, Belleville after 10 p.m. And again, all these numbers I'm throwing out there are approximate. 6 to 8 in the west side of the state, 8 to 10 in the central part of the state, and then 10 to 12 on the eastern part of the state. Right around those time frames. Now, again, if the cap does break early, we may see storms as early as 4 p.m., and that would increase our timing or bump up our timing significantly. But the models right now are picking up on this threat happening a little bit later on, closer to 6 to 8 p.m. So that's what we're going off of right now. And again, if that changes, we will update the page and update our timing map as well. I'll make a timing map here after I head off here. Hard to tell. I don't think they will unless there's actually like rotation on radar. I don't think there's going to be many waterspouts today, if any, on the lake. It's definitely possible, but I don't think it's going to be a huge threat. Yes, Alexis, these winds today, highlighted by the SPC, we're talking 75 plus miles per hour, which is also why you see this risk area here. I'll switch it over. In the wind, you see this in this red area and also this black box around the red area. That's what we call a hatched area. It's a probability of significant wind gusts up to or over 75 miles per hour. So areas in the red there and in the, especially around the black box area, have the highest potential to see those wind gusts over 75 miles per hour. I do not think they will upgrade to a moderate. I don't think it's widespread enough or long-lived enough to be a moderate risk. Edwardsburg, you're looking mainly at some wind and hail. Wind is going to be a primary threat. And again, you're going to be just outside the highest threat. It's going to be off to your north and east. But for the most part, Edwardsburg, you're looking at a wind and hail threat a little bit later on in the afternoon and evening time frames. Wind speed in slight zone, you're looking up to 60, 65, I'd say. Wouldn't be shocked if it went a little bit higher than that, but overall, just your regular severe winds up to 60, 65. Again, we're going to be live here later on this afternoon and evening. We'll have chasers in the field. I believe Nick is going to host the stream when he gets off of work. So we're coordinating here at MSC to get you guys covered, but we will be live here either way on radar and also in the field. All right, guys. Oh, I see a lot of questions asking for a lot of different areas, so I'll go over this one more time. On the west side of the state, Grand Rapids 131 area, so Berry, Allegan County, all the way down to Cass County, Berrien County, St. Joe County, Branch County as well. You guys are in it for the 6 to 8 time frame. Wind and hails are going to be your main threat. The highest wind and hail threat is going to be off to the east in that red zone near Lansing, Ann Arbor, Flint, Detroit, and in those areas between all those areas. So it could be Monroe, it could be South Lyon, all the way over to Port Huron, Perry again, Alma. Those areas have the highest wind threat as the squall line that we expect to happen pushes and forms and strengthens into a very bow echo shape where it's going to be a lot of wind with it. So 6 to 8 is the time frame on the west side of the state, and then 10 to 12 on the east side of the state. So if you're in Detroit, if you're in Monroe County, Lenawee County, Ann Arbor area, between that 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. time frame is when we do expect that to push through on the east side of the state. On the central part of the state, 8 to 10 is going to be right around the time frame we expect it. It could change depending on how weak that cap is or how strong that cap is. It may pop storms off early or later. It just depends on how weak or how strong that cap is. So timing will need to be adjusted, but that right now we're going off the model's output, which is showing 6 to 8 on the west side and then 10 to 12 on the east side. Again, all hazards are possible, wind, hail, and tornadoes in that yellow area that you see on your map there. Highest threat for damaging winds and tornadoes is going to be in that black and the red areas. So Flint, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Lansing. Flint and Burton, you are in the red. Yes, you are in the red, and you're also in the hatched area for significant wind gusts. Yes, a lot of varsity games on the east side will probably get interrupted by storms all across the state today. Battle Creek is included in the highest risk today. Wayne County is included in the highest risk. Oakland County in the highest risk. Time frame for you guys, again, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. You have Joel back now.
Yes, I am.
Yay, Joel. We do expect watches to be issued. Yes. The timing on those, it's up to the SPC. I wouldn't expect a watch to be issued until later on this afternoon and evening, right around maybe 4 o'clock. We start looking for a watch to be issued. But again, that's out of our hands. We'll have to wait for the SPC and the NWS to coordinate together to issue those. Pay attention to our page today. We'll be posting updates about watches, about any updates to the storm timing, locations, impacts. We'll have updates all day on our page as needed. So if you guys have any questions, you can always message us, comment. We'll try to get back to most of them. But on days like today where we have so many people paying attention, it's hard to keep up with comments. So if we don't answer yours, we do apologize. We will try to get to them. But once we go into live chase mode and live stream mode, we kind of stop doing that. We kind of focus on our streams and chasing at that point. So between now and we'll say 4 or 5 o'clock, we'll be paying attention to our page and posting updates, answering questions as needed. So again, guys, timing 6 to 8 on the west side of the state, 8 to 10 on the central part of the state, 10 to 12 on the eastern part of the state. The black outline hatched area is the area that the SPC has issued that they think significant wind gusts over 75 miles per hour or up to 75 miles per hour is possible. So the hatched area it's not a rare event to occur, but it's not normal, if that makes sense. We've had hatched areas in Michigan before, quite a bit of times actually, but today I would say this is pretty well deserved, just given the amount of wind shear and the amount of instability we have today. So. Yes, Jordan, Flint radio is working. Again, the NWS Grand Rapids weather radio is down. So if you guys have weather radios in Grand Rapids area, they're not going to work today.
Someone said we should get an app for a text alert for like severe warnings.
I believe on a county basis, you can sign up for the Red Cross or some type of emergency service your county offers. It should be offered also by the Red Cross as well. Weather radios are a good tool to have in your house, but also for your phones I believe any type of EAS for tornadoes or destructive severe storms will be sent to your phones, but regular severe warnings for like 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail, you won't get notifications on your phones unless you sign up for a service.
Yeah, the Red Cross just released that new emergency app on the App Store. It's basically wherever county you're in, you get warnings for if you have it set up for live location.
Well, there you go.
Yep. And they have a feature where it warns you, even if your phone's on silent. You can turn on like send anyway or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called exactly, but yeah. So you can get tornado warnings even with your phone on like do not disturb mode.
Kalamazoo is in the risk today. Yes, Parker. You're in the risk for significant wind gusts. There's a threat for a low-end threat for tornadoes and also a hail threat for Kalamazoo.
Hey, Mount Pleasant, fellow Mount Pleasant. Outdoor concert starting at 8. Not looking too good, although that could be almost beyond when the storms are through here, so you never know.
Bay City timing right around the 8 to 10 p.m. time frame, I'd say, for you guys. I'm going to take a peek at some of the models that came out here at 1 o'clock and see if there's any change in timing, so I'm getting the most accurate information out. Again, timing could fluctuate slightly through the day. Yeah, it has storms popping up at 7 o'clock over the Grand Rapids North Metro area, and that congeals into a line and pushes southeast. So yeah, that's about still what we're thinking on timing. So 6 to 8 on the west side of the state, and then it clears east side by 1 a.m. So between midnight and 1 a.m. it'll clear the state. So that's pretty accurate.
Those low clouds are getting shredded in southern Michigan right now.
Yeah, they are.
Still cloudy up here in Mount Pleasant. It's actually like foggy and misty here. Tornado risk in the red area is 5%.
I'll bring up the map here really quick. There's your tornado risk today in Michigan. So the green area is 2%, the red area is 5%. Just because it's cloudy does not mean we're not going to have storms later. The atmosphere is already very unstable. So even if it is cloudy, it's still unstable.
That is true.
Ann Arbor around 10, that'd be a good time frame. Just probably 10 to 12, I'd say, for Ann Arbor. Go ahead and plug our subscription. So if you subscribe to our Facebook or Patreon, we will give you exclusive access and also first access to our forecast that we release. If you do become a Facebook subscriber, we do have a group chat. You can message us directly and talk to us and answer questions and stuff like that. So a lot of people appreciate the ability to message us. So if you like that ability, feel free to subscribe. It's $2.99 per month. And you can click on our profile on our Facebook and click the sign up button and do that. I'd say it's well worth it, but that's also how we support ourselves for like gas costs and equipment costs as well. So we can continue to pay for our streaming services and stuff like that. So if you guys would like to subscribe, you are welcome to.
Golf league at 5 p.m. in DeWitt. Should start good. Not sure if you're going to get all 9 holes in, though.
That'll be a little rough. Yes, we do cover winter weather as well. We currently do not have a group chat on Patreon, but when you comment on one of our Patreon posts, we will respond. So if you want to comment or ask a question that way, we still see it. We'll respond to it. It's just not like with Facebook, they allow us to have a group chat, like a messenger group chat for those who have Facebook Messenger. It's basically just like that in a group chat setting for subscriptions on Facebook, but on Patreon, it doesn't give us the option. But when you do comment, we will see it. We will respond to it. Yes, the amount of downdraft CAPE in the atmosphere today is very significant. Microbursts is definitely a possibility today. So yes, that'd be really good threat tonight for that. Yeah. So Southeast Michigan, some rainfall totals. Belleville 7.5 inches. Metro Detroit Airport 6.5 inches. Monroe 5.5 inches of rain in about 3 hours. And Canton area, Belleville area, the airport in Detroit, Willow Run Airport, it is definitely a lot of water standing in also downtown Canton area. It's underwater from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. So definitely a nice situation up there in Southeast Michigan for rain. And again, with a lot of rain more coming tonight, not going to be good. What's up, Gabe? Let's see here.
Let me check the
Branch County.
See how they're looking.
Okay. Branch County looking really it's outside the biggest risk area, but still a potential threat for tornadoes, low end threat for tornadoes, but your main threat's going to be hail and wind today. There's no need to panic at this point in time. The storms are going to be later on this evening, closer to the 6 to midnight time frame. There's really no reason to panic at this point in time. And again, there's really no reason to panic in general. I mean, it's not going to. Storms today are mainly going to be a wind threat. I don't think the tornado threat's too high, but it is possible. Jonesville, you are in a threat today. The enhanced risk will most likely not be expanded.
They would only upgrade to moderate if they thought that the odds of damaging winds were 45% or higher.
Right. I honestly, I don't know what you think, Joel, but I don't see that happening. What do you think with that?
Yeah. I think with the cap right now, it's a safe bet to stay enhanced. I could see maybe at 9 p.m. at their 9 p.m. 8 p.m. update. If it looks like a derecho or something crazy is going to happen.
Right. My concern though is usually for a moderate, you want to have a long-lived and a widespread event, and Southeast Michigan is not going to be a huge area.
Right.
So you have to extend down into Northeast Ohio as well, which it could happen. I've seen crazier things happen, but at this point in time, I don't think it will.
Right.
Candace, the risk tonight is actually higher for severe weather than last night. Wind is going to be your primary threat with this, straight line winds type of things. Tornadoes are possible tonight as well. Looks a little bit more likely tonight than it was last night. So great question here. Oakland County power outages. So power outages across the slight and enhanced risk are likely tonight. I'm not going to say areas have a higher threat one area than the other, But when that bow echo does form, if the winds are what we expect the winds to be, I would expect there to be widespread power outages across the central and southern parts of the state tonight. So it doesn't matter if you're in Oakland County, it doesn't matter if you're in Ingham County, Lenawee County, Wayne County, it's going to be highest. It's going to be a widespread event and highest in the enhanced risk. So
I had a comment on asking what a derecho is. It's basically, I guess you could say, a long area of damaging winds. I forgot the criteria for it, but it has to be like concurrent with each other over like 250 miles or something like that.
So the definition of a derecho is wind damaged swath extends more than 240 miles and has wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour or greater along most of its length of a storm path. Usually for a derecho, you also want to see significant gusts like closer to 60, 70, maybe 80 mile an hour wind gusts. Those are the ones that classify as derechos. So
yeah, which SPC is calling for winds in excess of 75 miles per hour tonight. So maybe not derecho, but still very significant damaging winds potential.
So I will point out though, I'll give you the mile here, but in the enhanced risk, I'm gonna go on radar scope really quickly. I'm gonna map it out from the start of the enhanced to the end of the enhanced. So you really want to see 240 miles to get a derecho. The enhanced risk goes from central Michigan all the way to northeast Ohio. That extends 250 miles. So in the event that we do have this storm that forms over, like say, Lansing, just west of Lansing, and it tracks all the way across southeast Michigan through northern Ohio, and it's still severe when it comes out the other end of northeast Ohio, Pennsylvania, it may be classified as a derecho. But again, it's going to have to kind of like a wait and see type of mode. Derechos do not get forecasted. They get decided after the event. So to say we're going to have a derecho today would be irresponsible, but it is possible. So Nerd Guy 40 asks a great question. Will the storms have the ability to train and or dump inches of rain like last night? So tonight's threat, I will say, it looks to be a quick hitting type of threat. So it's going to come on you very quickly and it's going to pass very quickly. If the rainfall does occur will be significant, it'll be heavy. I don't expect there to be much in the way of training though. But just given the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, when it does come through, I would expect there to be heavy rain with it, and localized flooding is still possible. Yes, Gabe, 75 plus miles per hour is expected tonight, or is possible, should I say, tonight. Port Huron, you're in the risk tonight, so be prepared for wind primarily, but also the possibility of some hail and tornadoes.
The only way that you could get dumping rain tonight is if the line of storms slowly sags south, because the general motion of these storms tonight will be, I believe, east-southeast. But, you know, if it's not moving east-south, if it's going straight east, that's the only chance you can get at dumping rains over the same area. But again, it, for the most part, probably won't be training, similar to last night.
Lowell is in the enhanced risk, I believe.
Hey, that's my hometown.
It's right there on the edge. I think it's just in the orange. So, yeah, just on the borderline. Either way, you're close enough to say be alert tonight for the highest risk.
Yeah. It's where 96 is at between Ionia County line.
Lenawee County is included in the highest risk as well. Flat Rock as well, yes. The line is going to move at 50, maybe closer to 60 miles per hour. In fact, let me go ahead and pull a sounding really quickly and get what our bunker's right movement is really quick to get a better idea. But usually when we have complexes like this, it's going to move very quickly. So on a forecast X-ray, we have a few different products that we can look at and go, all right, this is how fast our storm is going to move, et cetera, et cetera. So the forecast sounding on the NAM has storm movement once it loads up here.
Are you gonna share that with the stream or no?
You really can't see on the forecast sounding.
Oh, gotcha.
So actually, Bunker's right is only 23 knots. So that's only 35 or so, 30 to 35 miles per hour. But usually when we get those lines, it moves faster. So we'll go ahead and say 40 to 50 miles per hour is probably likely tonight. Wouldn't be shocked if it moved faster, though, just given the linear complex of it. Down here for about an hour, guys. So appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Probably going to wrap this up here pretty soon. Yes, we are chasing tonight. We will be streaming Radar. We're also chasing, so here on Facebook and YouTube. I believe we can start streaming to Twitter now as well, so we can do Twitter too. Any last questions before I hop off? You gonna hop off your Joel too as well, or no?
Yeah, I probably will.
Okay. Any more questions, guys, before we hop off? Yes, you can send photos via email to us. You can message our page. Our email is our email is mistormchasers@gmail.com. And again, you can DM us on Twitter for pictures, and you can message us on Facebook for pictures. Malcolm County is in the risk today. Again, all hazards are possible, but the highest threat for winds and tornadoes are going to be in the orange area, and also surrounding areas of slight risk that has a little bit less of a threat for wind and tornadoes, and also hail as well. But the highest threat is going to be in the orange. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Thanks for watching, guys.
Stay safe, everybody.